So we're going to be making latkes with butternut squash. You can use any root vegetables. I think that's one of the beautiful things about latkes, is it works really well with any sort of root starchy vegetable. And you can still keep a little bit of potato in it, but definitely experiment a little bit. You can try celery roots, you can try rutabaga, you can try pumpkin, sweet potato. So many different ingredients to choose from. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with about 2 cups of butternut squash. You can use any sort of squash. And I just use a box grater. If you have a food processor, some of the food processors have the attachment. It's a lot faster. You can definitely use that. It's beautiful color. That's going to go in. And butternut squash is one of those things, any type of squash, they're fantastic to freeze. So if you buy like a big squash and you realize, okay, for this recipe I only need like about a quarter of it, freeze the rest. It actually grates even easier when it's frozen. So it's one of those ingredients that has a nice storage life.
And freeze it raw.
Freeze it raw, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and this is raw. This is raw too, yeah. So just grated right in there. You can grate it first and freeze it almost like cheese. Like this looks like kind of like cheddar cheese.
Just label it when you put it in your freezer.
Yeah, label it. That would not taste good in macaroni and cheese. So yeah, 2 cups grated sweet potato is going to go in. I'm going to add 2 eggs to this. The eggs are going to act as a binder. So you can definitely, we have a little video on ingredient substitutions, and we make a flax egg, which you can use instead of this. Then we're going to add a little bit of flour. And again, this is going to act as sort of a binding agent. It's also going to absorb any excess moisture in the recipe. Because we're not deep frying them, we're baking them. We want these latkes as dry as possible so that they get really nice and crispy. So about a 1/4 cup in there. Onions, you can put onions in raw. I think most of the traditional recipes have it in raw. I've cooked mine a little bit beforehand. So you can do, it's up to you if you have the time. The reason I like cooking it beforehand is by caramelizing the onions a little bit, you're adding a little bit more flavor, like a lot more flavor. Plus, a lot of the liquid, a lot of that moisture in the onions is evaporating. So you don't have to worry about it, making the mixture a little bit more wet. You're sort of getting rid of most of that water.
Sometimes people find just the bite of raw onions is too intense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might even upset your stomach. So just by cooking it a little bit, you do release some of those sulfuric compounds. That can really help with the digestion.
So onion goes in. We're going to add a little bit of sage. Sage and squash, I love the combination. But again, any sort of leafy herb would work really well in here. And then, lastly, the potato. Now, the reason I'm adding the potato and not just going entirely with squash is because the potato does have a nice starch that helps to bind and bring everything together. And we're only using a little bit of it. And it's not so bad for you. Actually, there's some good things too, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to need about 1 cup of potato. Now I'm going to do one thing to the potato, and this makes a huge difference between like a crispy latke and a soggy latke.
And this matters a lot because, as Jeremy said, we're going to be baking them, not deep frying. If you're deep frying, put anything in a deep fryer and it's going to get crispy, right? So in this recipe, anything. You can put butter in a deep fryer and it gets crispy. So this, we really want to make sure we get rid of the excess moisture.
Absolutely. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting it in this is a cheesecloth, but you can even use just a clean dish towel. And then we're going to wring out as much of the water as possible. And you're going to see how much water, like potato is mostly, it's mostly water. So this is just a little bit of an extra step. And potato water, I don't know of too many recipes you can use it for. You can maybe use it to thicken a stew, or a soup.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can use that, but otherwise, don't drink it. Okay, so potato starch or potato water there. And so now what I'm left with is a nice compact cup. of really nice and dry sort of grated potato. And that's going to go in there. And so it's a little bit of an extra step, but it does make a big difference. All right, so that's pretty much it.
I do that even when I do the regular latkes and I fry them because there's so much.
It's so much water. Yeah, absolutely.
Good idea.
So a little pinch of salt, a little fresh crack of pepper, and then the last ingredient, and this is completely optional. This is sort of a little thing that I do a little different at home, is add horseradish, fresh horseradish. Now horseradish has a little bit of a bite, so definitely if you're not into, and it's not like hot heat, but it does have a little bit of a bite. So if you're not into sort of the spicier things, definitely avoid this. But you can find, and most people walk right by it. This is what it looks like. Kind of looks like really big ginger, and this is cut in half. Usually you'll find them a lot longer, but it looks like something that was just ripped right out of the ground. But it's horseradish. That's exactly what it is, and you can find it prepared. Like most of the time, you find it prepared horseradish in the jars. Fresh horseradish has this incredible flavor, and it's not as spicy as hot or as like vinegary. It's just clean horseradish, and I'll pass it around if you want to smell it after. But it's really, really nice. So you can add a little bit of it. This is again another ingredient like you're probably not going to use in a massive piece of horseradish in one sitting or one recipe, but this freezes again really, really well. And anytime you need horseradish, right out of the freezer, you just grate it and you just put it right back into the freezer. Really, really easy. We're going to mix it up. I'm going to be classy and do it with a spoon.
You're using a spoon this time. We usually get our hands in there because it's more fun.
Okay, I think that was a challenge. So we're going to go in, and it's really, really simple.
Combines more easily.
Just combine all the ingredients together. And I love the color too with the squash. And you can even do, if you don't like squash or if you don't have one on hand, use potato and then maybe grate some carrot in it as well. It would work really, really well. So just make sure that the flour's mixed through. This isn't something that you can really check for seasoning at this point.
We don't want to be eating raw eggs,
but
for food safety purposes.
That's pretty much it.
We're going to be serving it with a lovely accompaniment, which will also add to the flavor.
So you can do this, like I said, different methods traditionally cook latkes. Deep frying is one of them. You can do a pan fry as well, which you can definitely do. You don't need too much oil, but Hanukkah is, especially the latkes, you're celebrating the oil. That's one of the main things about it. So put about a tablespoon in a shallow pan about medium heat, and you can do them about 4 or 5 minutes per side. Or if you're doing lots, find it a lot easier to just bake them. And so what I do is make little patties, about 1/4 inch.
Then you don't have to be frying in little batches.
Yeah.
Get going a lot faster.
And if you have an ice cream scoop, that works really, really well. So we'll go through a few more of these, and then you're going to pop them in the oven, 425, and I'm using convection, so you can, if you don't have the fan, then you can put it a little bit higher, but 425 is usually a pretty good number, and about 15 minutes per side. If you see they're getting a little dark, because everybody's oven's different, the heat's a little different, just turn the heat down a little bit. All right, so I'll do a couple more. I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so to top these, this is the second time. If you're grating, either wear goggles or like step back a little bit, because I'm getting potato and apple right in the eye. So
better than onion in the eye.
Yes, better than onion or chili.
Ask what kind of grater that is, because that was like one good grater.
It's just a regular
Sharp, like
box grater. I don't know. I think it's just a regular 4-sided, box grater. I don't even know if it's a brand name. But so latkes are traditionally served with applesauce, sour cream sometimes. We're gonna change it up a little bit, and I love the apple flavor with it, but I also love cheese. And this is a really, really nice combination.
Pardon me?
Squash is uncooked when you grate it and cook them.
Yes.
That's right, yeah. So you don't have to take that extra step of cooking it first. Or the potato either. You just grate it all and it'll bake in the oven.
So we're gonna
You're
take
welcome.
about a cup of that grated apple, wash it well, but skin on, and we're gonna add a little bit of goat cheese to that. And I'm just getting messy, so it doesn't really matter. But we're gonna mix it all together and try to, you can use a spoon, but try to mix the apple right into the goat cheese. And work fast because the warmth of your hand will melt the goat cheese. So you don't want it too soft. You just want it warm enough just so it can mix through. And then you can put that back in the fridge. And that's a delicious, that's a beautiful flavored goat cheese that we're gonna use a little bit to top on the latke right as it finishes in the oven. But you can even store this in some saran wrap, some plastic wrap, and put it back into the fridge, and then you can even keep it for something else, for a different recipe, which is really good.
Super easy.
Very easy.
Flavor your own goat cheese. I like that.
And this is it. So the last like 5 minutes, you put a little piece of that goat cheese on, and there's the latkes. So really, really nice and crispy, and then that goat cheese has got like a little bit of a golden brown on top, but they're super crispy, really nice flavor from the sage and the butternut squash, and then the apple goat cheese on top is it's a nice little special touch. But that's it.